premiere of the first episode of Series 4 of the South Bank in London. I'm sorry I can't be with you this evening, as I'm still here in Cardiff finishing off the series. But I have sent a few of the minor walk-on characters. Enjoy and good night.
How does that work in terms of when it's being filmed? How do you know where to react and all that kind of stuff?
A bit of guesswork, a bit of imagination, and a bit of someone shouting "Daraka!"
It's very
so it's a good trio combination of being afraid of a Daraka. But yeah, again, it's just big imagination thing, really.
Genuinely scary episode, I have to say. I mean, some of that, the chicken moment is a great moment, by the way.
I think we were very lucky tonight because we could do a surround sound mix, so we were up until really late last night with Ben, the mixer from Aquarium, who's done an amazing job on the series. And we were kind of, because there's surround sound, we can play around with the bass, so it's a lot more scary watching it in surround sound than it would be on the television. But we were putting, in every jump moment there was mini explosions. We were going to town last night. Let's try and make a jump moment out of the apple, and so it's. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's always fun.
Yeah, it's not as scary on the telly, but quite a long one.
And I was probably rather unkindly kind of casting you as the kind of pantomime villain and kind of talking about Morgana in a kind of real kind of boo-hiss kind of way. You very eloquently talked about actually the real kind of motivation behind what makes Morgana tick and where she is, and obviously as an actor you've thought about that in a lot of detail in terms of understanding where she is. I mean, from your point of view, is that important as an actor to be able to kind of connect with your characters, to know exactly why they're behaving in the way they're behaving, rather than just saying, oh, well, they're just bad and that's because they're bad? Because actually,
absolutely, I couldn't play Morgana if I didn't love her. I mean, I think she's absolutely justified in everything that she's doing.
I would have believed you. I would have believed you to say the last year, but having just seen like the slaughtered innocents, on the screen.
I didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
I watched that. That was actually the Daraka. Did you watch it?
Clearly not.
No, I think actually this is a really good episode showing Morgana at the start, because you see her with her sister, and you see her where she's vulnerable, and you see the softer side of her. And I think that shows you her motivation at the beginning of the series. Where she goes from that is a different point. But Morgana is more than one thing. She's a character that has many facets to her. And I think this episode shows that. And I think you're going to see it throughout the series. Because what I didn't want, and I'm sure that's not what Johnny and Julian wanted, was her to just be a boo-hiss villain, a one-dimensional. And she's not, because they've spent 3 years creating this amazingly well-rounded character. And season 4 only continues that. And yes, she might be slightly misguided, but I think when you see it, I hope that maybe you don't agree with her, but you understand it.
And our intention was always that you would to a certain extent sympathise with Morgana on her journey and understand why she went down the wrong path. I think that was essential.
She does want
and to be sympathising with my character, really.
Well, actually, I do.
And Angel, you have got some kind of like major storylines coming up in terms of, obviously, Arthur. Now you had your kiss at the Knights of the Round Table at the end of the last series, so you're out in the open in that respect. I don't know. Can we talk about the fact that in the Arthurian legend we know that Guinevere has more than just one love interest?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about that, Johnny, Julian?
Yeah, we are.
Didn't you start Merlin as well?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm just bitter, okay?
Obviously Lancelot is back in this series, and he does maybe throw a bit of a spanner in the works at some point. But at the beginning of the series, she's very much focused on...
Gwen is entirely blameless.
Arthur, she is. It's very much focused on Arthur and being there for him and there for his father. He's not well, and yeah.
But I think that one of the big Arthurian legends that we explore in this series is the love triangle between Lancelot, Arthur, and Guinevere, and there's some really intriguing twists to how that love triangle plays out throughout the 13 episodes.
The show is showing. I don't know how many countries it plays in now, but it plays all over the world, doesn't it?
It's 183 territories.
That's huge, isn't it? And in fact, it's getting a round of applause to the back.
I think North Korea Australia's the only place it's not flying us at the moment.
I think that might have been a member of the
We
crew.
don't have it in Ireland,
And
but we just rob it off the BBC.
Is it not,
You just steal it from the beach.
is it not playing in Ireland?
Well, no, because we can watch it on the BBC.
Why would you need to? How much influence do those international territories, particularly America and the Sci-Fi Channel, have over the production? I know obviously the BBC has influence over the production because of your deal with them, but do they have any influence at all, or are they just receivers of the content?
They just buy it. They don't have any creative input. It's Julian and I and Shine just work with BBC Wales, and that's that was so brilliant about it for Julian and I is that we work with Bethan and BBC Wales, and they allow us to follow our creative vision and sort of keep us on track at the same time.
I think
It's been very liberating.
no, it has, and it's quite rare as well. I think we're lucky in the sense that the material is quite universal, and the legend's very well known, and I think that does help the travel.
And obviously, in terms of kind of the families who watch the show, they're growing up with, as each season goes on, they're kind of growing up with the characters, but presumably there are still kind of judgment calls about how scary you can make. And it did feel, I mean, not in a critical way, but it felt this was a pretty scary episode actually to sort of, to start off with. And I mean, how far can you kind of push the envelope in that respect?
It's a very interesting and delicate line to tread. Obviously, we didn't make 13 episodes like that, and it would be wrong if we had. Some episodes are very, very funny and quite light. I think the series has grown up. It's got more sophisticated as we've all got more sophisticated with it, and as our cast has grown and the characters have grown. You know, the Merlin now, you couldn't imagine Merlin being the naive character he was in Series 1. He's miles beyond that. So I think you have to go with that because that's the story we're telling. And the advantage of a show like this is your audience sort of goes with you and expects that growth. And you saw it, Harry Potter's the obvious example of that process. And I think you can do it. You have to be careful. We're incredibly careful about things like that. But I think a bit of suspense is something that this genre is known for, and Doctor Who has traded on for 40 years. So I don't think that's a wrong thing. I think there are many things that we are careful of, but I think a bit of suspense can really work.
Just over to the actors. I saw recently like one of the call sheets that you have, and obviously actors always say, "Oh, we have terribly long days," and you think, "Oh yeah, your actors get on with it." But actually, the call sheet that I saw is astonishing. I mean, you start filming incredibly early, and you really do work throughout the day. I mean, could you just talk us through, perhaps, Colin, just start off what time on an average day you would wake up, and when you get to the set and you're in makeup, and how the kind of day pans out for you?
Okay, if you're on a normal day, starting from 7:30 to 7:30. Your pickup time would normally be just before 6. Depending if you're at the studio. If you're on location, then it might be earlier, between 5 and half 5 maybe. Yeah, you get there, go through your hair and makeup to be on set for 7:30. So your hours start from when you're on set.
This is what you've been doing today as well, is it?
This is what this one, yeah. And then you right through to 7:30, and then get out of hair and makeup, and then guess you're back home for sort of around 8 o'clock. So
I would like to point out that the boys take far longer to get out of their costumes and take their makeup off than the girls do. 10 minutes in the car waiting for them, sitting there waiting for Bradley.
The Knights of Camelot take a long
The Knights of the occasional table? Is that
Yes.
what you said?
How does that fit in terms of, just touching on the Knights of Camelot? Obviously, you've got your kind of ensemble cast of 6, and you're obviously a very strong 6, but that has now properly expanded now, hasn't it? I mean, you do have the Knights of the Round Table there as well. I mean, how has it been kind of allowing people into your inner circle?
We love it. I mean, we enjoy working with each other, and that's great, but it's always really exciting to kind of see the new scripts, and there's new characters coming in, and who's it going to be, and the Knights have been brilliant. It's just been lovely having them around. It's nice having kind of expanding the world of Camelot, and also just having nice people to work with, and they're all genuinely lovely characters, lovely people, so it's great.
Doing raunchy photo sheets, we won't even go into that one.
Yeah.
Looks like the Merlin brand on that one. So
That's what she's going for. Happiness isn't something that kind of comes in her vocabulary.
Katie McGrath, 2 years ago, when you were here, young, innocent Morgana, We look at you now, as Katie, defending the horrendous actions of her character.
Entirely justified.
So we've got the very fat row there.
She wanted to die. It was her gift to me. Maybe I identify too much.
It is like the Jeremy
You've
Kyle
created a
show.
monster.
I killed them and I loved it. Right, so go back there, yep.
I wanted to ask Colin what kind of like the hardest scenes to shoot whilst you're shooting Merlin.
The ones when probably the elements are beyond your control. So when it's raining and you're outside in the forest in the middle of Wales, it just makes everything difficult, you know, for everyone, and it's that's logistically difficult. If you're talking about acting, then that's I guess the challenges of the pace of the show. The schedule is always very full on. So managing your time as well. That just comes over 4 series, and we should be good at that by now.
Okay, there's another question just in front over there. Yeah.
If you could take one memory or experience, or just from this whole thing, what would it be and why?
Is that to everybody or to one person?
Just in general.
In general, to anybody. You can take one memory, one experience, was it?
We were filming in France this year, and for some reason I was in a lake, and it was 45 degrees, and I'm in full costume, pieces of hair, and I'm dying of the heat, but behind the camera, they were all topless in the water. Like literally everybody stripped down to their shorts, and we're just swimming around with like lenses above the water. They were in it, the director got in, everybody was, and I'm dying in my costume, nearly passing out with heat exhaustion. But every time I look up, it's a whole load of topless men. I've got a overriding memory of this.
This is all behind the camera, yeah.
Behind the camera, in my mind.
Okay, we've got more hands anywhere over this. So on this side we'll go over, yep, just over there. And then the next one after that will be the gentleman right in the middle there. With his hand.
Which episode was the most fun to make?
We've got in surround sound for you there. Which episode was the most